You and I are going wine shopping together. You can find a sensational bottle of wine for criminally low prices. Let's get started exploring and tasting new wines together. And this week, we're headed back to one of our favorite wine countries, Italy. But we're honing in on a region that is not known for affordable wine. In fact, it's quite the opposite. They make some of the most expensive wines in the world, and wines that typically need a good deal of time to age before becoming approachable and ready to drink. However, I found an affordable bottle that I think is a really lovely example and introduction to what the region and the grape are capable of. We are going to dive into the prestigious region of Barolo and the beautiful grape that makes its wines, Nebbiolo. Let's pick apart that grape first, Nebbiolo. Its origins haven't been quite locked down, but one thought is that it comes from the most famous Nebbiolo region, Italy's Piemonte. Another theory is that it comes from the Italian region of Lombardy, close to Lake Como. Either way, no one can argue that its home is in the Piemonte, where even though it only makes up about 8% of all grapes planted in the region, this area is where the majority of the world's Nebbiolo comes from. It gets its name from the Italian word nebbia, or fog, which is in reference to the lovely blanket of fog that rests on the vineyards in the mornings during harvest season. This is both an early budding grape and a late ripening grape, so it needs a little extra help getting properly ripened time. This is why the best Nebbiolo vineyards are planted on slopes that give it more access to sunlight so as to ripen enough to balance out the grape's naturally high levels of acid and tannin. If you've never had a truly high tannin wine before, congratulations, because you're about to. But before we taste, let's get to know Barolo a little bit. Barolo, along with neighboring Barbaresco, are the premium Nebbiolo producing regions in the Piemonte, and hence the world. Unlike many Italian wines which are blends, Barolo wines must be comprised of 100% Nebbiolo and are considered the greatest of Italian wines. They are both beautifully powerful and intense while being complex and elegant. This is a cooler region with higher elevation vineyards. It can be quite rainy and misty here as well, all of which leads to two major threats for Nebbiolo: mildew and hail. This is one of the wine regions of the world that global warming has actually been a positive thing for. Several decades ago, there was a wine revolution in Barolo between what was the older, more traditional way of making Barolo and the newer, more modern way. In the 1970s and 1980s, the greater wine drinking market was leaning more towards fruit-forward styles and didn't want to wait 40 plus years to drink their bottle of Barolo. So the younger winemaking generation started employing methods to make their wines slightly more approachable, including the very controversial move to fermenting and aging their wines in new, smaller oak barrels, as opposed to the traditional way, which was in these old, gigantic botti barrels, which had been in the winemakers' families for generations. This literally split some families into two and is known as the Barolo Wars. The modern methods of winemaking prevailed, and though you don't need to wait quite as long to open your bottle of Barolo, it still does need proper time to age to be ready to drink. I got this bottle of Rossa dell'Olmo Barolo at Trader Joe's for $14.99. You will never, I mean, if you do, I don't want to say never, but find somewhere else where you can find a decent bottle of Barolo for $15. Now, I don't want you to be under any illusions that this is a truly great bottle of Barolo. I said it's a great introduction to what Barolo can be. It's still a lovely wine, but it's not going to be as expensive because unlike those premium bottles of wine, these are not going to be the best grapes from the best sites. And with those premium wines, so little of it is made. And thankfully, because Trader Joe's can buy in such large volume in bulk, they get a better deal, which we get to benefit from, yay for us. So this is a Normale Barolo. You can have Normale and Reserva. I know this is Normale because it doesn't say Reserva on the label. So legally, for them to be able to put Barolo on their label, they have to be using 100% Nebbiolo grapes, and this wine has to be aged for at least 38 months before being released, at least 9 of which of those months have to be aging in oak. Now, if this was a Reserva, it would have had to spend even longer aging, 50 months at least, with 9 months of those being in oak. And this is a 2018, so it's already 5 years old, which you typically don't really see any bottle age on wines that are at Trader Joe's or at your everyday grocery store. So this is a really special find. See, yes. Even though, like I said, I'm not knocking this by saying that this is not gonna be a premium bottle of Barolo. You just unfortunately can't get that for 15 bucks. But this is so lovely on the nose. Something that strikes me is just that it's Nebbiolo. It is truly Nebbiolo. They haven't over-ripened this. It doesn't taste like bulk grapes. You can't really do that with Nebbiolo. It loses its character. Nebbiolo wines are typically going to be a little more pale in color. I can see my fingers through this. You can generally see some writing through the wine as well. It's not completely opaque, as you would expect from a very powerful wine. And it has this beautiful garnet color and this orange rim that's pretty typical in Italian wines. I always love seeing an Italian wine poured. It just looks so beautiful and singular in the glass. The famous notes for Nebbiolo are tar and roses. And this is a very beautiful floral Nebbiolo, so immediately you do get the roses, you get some violets too, and the tar is this lovely earthiness on it. You get leather, you get dark cherry, you get raspberry, you get all these lovely wild herbs and black pepper, you get these lovely warm baking spices from the oak. Something else that's fun, in the Piemonte you get these beautiful white truffles, and you get some lovely truffle notes on Nebbiolo as well. These pair beautifully together. So if you're having a particularly decadent experience planned, go for Barolo and truffles. But yes, it has all these bright fruits. This is still pretty young, 5 years old. I don't think this is a Barolo that needs 20, 30 years, but this can still benefit from another 5 years. It's still very bright and bombastic. The fruit is very present, very high toned, but you really are getting all of the lovely earth on this. This is for 15 bucks. Like it's lovely. It's so lovely. I'm getting so many layers that I'm picking apart here, and I'm just getting more and more and more. The tannin and the acid, there they are. Woo, girl. I have had more tannic Nebbiolos than this, but if you give this a nice swish around in your mouth, I guarantee you you're getting that sandpaper across your teeth and your gums. Dries out your mouth, but it also fills your mouth with saliva because it's so high acid. This is why sommeliers love Nebbiolo, because it's so bright and high in these structural components, makes it a delight to pair with food and just to drink on its own. Yeah, the tannins aren't extremely aggressive. If you were to take a premium bottle of Barolo and for whatever reason open it immediately upon release, you'll see it's too much. It's too much. It's not fun to drink, it's incredibly intense, and it needs time to chill out. And then if you are fortunate enough to get to taste one of those premium Barolos when it's been properly aged and decanted and it's opened up, it's so sexy. It's so sexy. Yes, wine can be sexy. It's medium body, it's not super heavy. It's 14% alcohol, I believe. Yes, 14%. Moderate, starting to get up a little higher, but lovely. It's not beating me over the head. It doesn't feel astringent or harsh. And it has a lovely finish. It has all of those things. It has this meaty earthiness to it, but still this nice, lovely, bright, tart and ripe red fruit and black fruit. And those roses and the violets, this beautiful potpourri of different floral notes. But it's fresh, it's not dried potpourri. I just find, this is probably one of my favorite BYOB finds. I'm gonna say it. Because 15 bucks is getting a little up there as far as affordable finds, but for what this is, for you to get to try a Barolo for 15 bucks as opposed to a lot of other entry-level ones that are $40+ this is great. This is so great for what it is. This is better than 15 bucks. So because this is a wine that is so high in tannin and acid, this wine begs for richer, fattier dishes. This wine wants fat, and so do I. So this is, get your tenderloins, get your ribeye steaks, get your braised meats, your stews, your roasted meats. This is great with richer cheeses, bechamel sauces. I remember growing up, we have this lovely family butcher, Poetas. Hey, the wife, Anna Maria, would make from scratch the pasta, bechamel sauce, everything, this lovely lasagna. And you'd cut through it and the bechamel would ooze out the sides, and I still remember it. And dang, that'd be so good with this, with the red meat sauce on it. Ah, so good. Gonna be beautiful with mushroom dishes, especially all that earthiness and the truffle notes. Great with mushrooms, great with truffle dishes. Truffle risotto, hello, yes please, sign me up. I'm there for it. Good with vegetables as well. Squashes, I think this would be lovely with like a fresh egg pasta and like a brown butter sauce with sage. Great with polenta dishes. Living in the Midwest, my mother would make this really beautiful rich stew with ribs and Italian sausage and potatoes, carrots, green beans, onions. And we'd put a piece of polenta on our plates with a little bit of cheese shaved on it and then put the stew on top of it. And it was just so ridiculously decadent. And I would crack this open and drink that with it. So yeah, it's bringing up all these wonderful dishes for me and very specific dishes, which I think is the sign of a good wine. If you enjoy powerful red wines, if you like Sangiovese and you've had that Italian wine before, if you like your Bordeaux's, your Napa Cabs, you need to try a wine like this. You need to try Barolo. If you're having a romantic night with your partner and you're cooking up a steak, pop open this bottle of wine. It'll complement the evening so well. I hope you're as delighted by this wine as I am. And I love finding these amazing deals and wines that just bat way above their price point. It's a delight and it's humbling. And this is a wonderful wine. There are some crappy, cheap wines out there. This is not one of them, I'm very happy to say. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Please let me know what you think. Grab yourself a bottle. I hope maybe one day you're able to be lucky and try one of those top tier producers when it's aged properly and just hitting that beautiful sweet spot so that you can see what this grape and what this region are truly capable of. But like I said, fantastic introduction to that. So enjoy this wine, and until our next lovely bottle together, keep exploring and trying new wines. Salud.